Let me welcome you again to this year's Climate Week, New York City. As Kayleigh said, this is the 4th year that the Climate Group has had the honor of being the Secretariat of Climate Week, and 2012 is bigger and better than ever. In its 4th year, Climate Week has established itself not only as a milestone in New York's calendar, but as one of the high points on the international agenda on both the threat of climate change and, more importantly, I would say, the opportunity of a clean economy. Before going on, let me just thank our sponsors of this year's Climate Week, and there are many of them. Swiss Re, the Global CCS Institute, Bloomberg, Con Edison, HP, New York City, Tick Tick Tick, the Province of Quebec, Yasuni ITT Initiative, and the UN Foundation. We're very grateful to all of you for your support, not only for Climate Week, but for your leadership on climate change. Now, Climate Week comes at a critical moment in the US and the world's history. I think, as everyone knows, in 44 days, Americans will be going to the polls. And the context of this election could not be more challenging. Like much of the Western world, the US economy is registering only modest economic growth. Job creation seems to be stalling. Likewise, in Europe, the Eurozone is facing a sustained crisis, and even China's growth seems to be faltering. Not since the 1930s has the world faced such a prolonged period of economic hardship and insecurity. Yet we shouldn't let that obscure that we also face two other linked challenges. First, climate change is really beginning to show its teeth. I don't think anyone can ignore that. More than 80% of the US this year has been affected by the worst drought since the 1950s. Crops have withered, food prices have spiked, and at a time when people can least afford it, their livelihoods are under threat. And in response to that, the second part of the challenge, a growing number of nations around the world are making clean energy a central strand of their future growth strategy. China's green industrialization plan is perhaps the best example, but others, from Korea to Germany to Brazil to Indonesia, all are putting green growth at the heart of their policies going forward. I think what we see is that where traditional leaders like America don't lead, others will fill the gap. But it doesn't have to be this way. This great nation, and I have many cousins, aunts, and uncles who live here, being the driver of the world's prosperity and freedom over the last century, was born through an American revolution. And now is the time for a new revolution, the clean revolution, which America can lead and which will drive more prosperity and more freedom in the 21st century. A clean revolution is a swift and massive scale-up of clean energy, of infrastructure, of smart technologies and design. It is the only feasible path to a smarter, better, and more prosperous future for all. But it's not just about the future. A clean revolution can kickstart the economy. Estimates suggest that it could add an extra $3 trillion to US GDP if we make the right decisions today. Immediate action to save energy could save $1.2 trillion over the next 10 to 12 years. And by smart action, US companies can be the leader of a low-carbon market that will be worth over $2 trillion in just 8 years' time. That's an opportunity not to be missed. But it's not only about economics, it's about security. Every person in this country, and it's very similar in mine, spends over $1,000 a year buying oil from overseas and billions of dollars protecting oil supplies. A clean revolution can address those costs. And it's not a pipe dream. It's not something that I'm thinking about would be wonderful in the future. The American clean revolution has already begun. The challenge we have collectively is to nurture it, to accelerate it, and help it grow. America is already the world's leader in clean energy investment. Around 2.7 million Americans are already employed in the clean energy economy. But if we are to grow that, we need leadership from here, leadership that will give our children and the businesses that are growing around them an opportunity to have the prosperity and the opportunities that we've had so far. And the cost of not embracing this way forward could be too great, not only for this nation, but for the world to bear. Here, US companies would miss out on the vast opportunities of a clean economy. Foreign oil imports, as I've said, will continue to account for almost half of the US annual trade deficit, in perpetrating what has been called by some the greatest wealth transfer in human history. And without action, the weather will continue to wreak havoc. This year's weather extremes could cost the US economy over $50 billion. And since 1980, coastal disasters have caused more than $500 billion in damage. But this is not a message of despair, this is a message of hope. The low-carbon future is dawning, and it is up to this country, America, whether it leads this future or whether it wants to be left behind in the clean energy race. When Apple displaced Exxon as the world's largest company, it signaled that it is those companies who not only embrace change, but those that embody it, who are the world's new leaders, those who drive design, innovation, and technology. And it is America's innovation and entrepreneurship that have prompted some of the world's greatest advances in the transcontinental railroads, highways, the space program, and the internet. This leadership brought opportunities and prosperity to millions, and it can do so again. The seeds of that leadership are already here. Just look around. Almost 1/4 of South Dakota's electricity was generated by wind last year. In Massachusetts, jobs in the clean energy sector have risen 11% in 1 year, despite recession. Stocks in America's most sustainable companies are outperforming their peers by 50%. And the largest solar plant in the world is under construction in this country, in the state of California. And on the corporate side, too, many people know the story of Dow Chemicals, whose resource efficiency investments of $2 billion have brought in savings of over $10 billion through reduced water and energy consumption. Johnson Controls, a company that we're proud to have as a climate group member, their building efficiency division have generated over $19 billion in energy savings for consumers. And its upgrade of the iconic Empire State Building has made this 82-year-old landmark one of the country's most energy efficient. And more recently, the Broadscale Group, founded by Andrew Shapiro, who's in the room with us here today, is a new model of investment firm working with leading energy corporations, including Duke Energy, General Electric, National Grid, and others, to scale up by innovating in new technologies, but helping them bridge what's known as the commercialization valley of death. All great examples, all major steps forward, but not enough. The pace of change needs to happen even faster. Today, we're releasing this publication, An American Clean Revolution. It doesn't provide the answers, but it provides some really compelling arguments of why this is not just a moral imperative, why this is not just an environmental imperative, but it's about economics, it's about opportunity, it's about jobs, and it's about a healthy future. And it's a future that I believe firmly that America needs to take the lead on. And that's why we're assembled here today. The speakers who follow me, I'm sure, will go to that in greater detail. We depend on America to take the lead and to drive a clean revolution forward. Thank you very much.